I call this meeting to order. And I'd like to welcome all to meeting number 7 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs. I'd like to start by acknowledging that I am joining you today from our traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Chonanton nations. Pursuant to the order of reference of April 20th, 2020, the committee is meeting for the purpose of receiving evidence concerning matters related to the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today's meeting is taking place by video conference, and the proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website. During this meeting, the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. In order to facilitate the work of our interpreters and ensure an orderly meeting, I would like to outline a few rules to follow. 1, interpretation in this video conference will work very much like in a regular committee meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. In order to resolve the sound issues raised in recent virtual committee meetings and ensure clear audio transmission, we ask those who wish to speak during meetings to set your interpretation language as follows. If speaking in English, please ensure you are on the English channel. If speaking in French, please ensure you are on the French channel, accessed by the globe in the center bottom, which says interpretation. As you are speaking, if you plan to alternate from one language to the other, you will also need to switch the interpretation channel so it aligns with the language you are speaking. You may want to allow for a short pause when switching languages. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. When you're ready to speak, you can either click on the microphone icon to activate your mic, or you can hold down the space bar while you are speaking. When you release the bar, your mic will mute itself, similar to a walkie-talkie. A reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed through the chair. Should members need to request the floor outside of their designated time for questions, they should activate their mic and state that they have a point of order. If a member wishes to intervene on a point of order that has been raised by another member, they should use the raise hand function. This will signal to the chair your interest to speak. In order to do so, you should click on Participants at the bottom of the screen. When the list pops up, you will see next to your name that you can click Raise Hand. When speaking, please speak slowly and clearly. When not speaking, your mic should be on mute. The use of headsets is strongly encouraged. Should any technical challenges arise, for example, in relation to interpretation, or if you are accidentally disconnected, please advise the chair or clerk immediately, and the technical term will work to resolve. Please note that we may need to suspend during these times, as we need to ensure all members are able to participate fully. Before we get started, can everyone click on their screen in the top right-hand corner and ensure that they are on gallery view? With this view, you should be able to see all of the participants in a grid view. It will ensure that all video participants can see one another. During the meeting, we will follow the same rules that usually apply to opening statements and rounds of questioning of witnesses during our regular meetings. Each witness will have up to 10 minutes for their opening statement, followed by the usual rounds of questions from members. And so now, I'd like to welcome our witnesses. From the Assembly of First Nations, National Chief Perry Bellegarde. From the ITK, Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami, Nathan Obed, the President. And from the Métis National Council, David Chartrand, Vice President and National Spokesperson. So Chief Bellegarde, we are now ready to hear your opening statement up to 10 minutes. Welcome.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thank you all as committee members and as well all the people listening and managing to be safe by doing this call through the Zoom. It's an amazing thing. The COVID-19 pandemic is a crisis for all of Canada, as it is for the whole world. So I want to acknowledge the work of all parties to cooperate and respond in a timely and effective way to deal with this issue. It's an extremely challenging time for everyone, and the situation on the ground changes daily, and we're all still learning about how the spread of this disease is best contained. This makes the context for policy development and funding decisions difficult at best. So we should all acknowledge that these are indeed challenging times. We also need to acknowledge unique challenges facing First Nations peoples, challenges that both create needs and all too often impair the ability of First Nations governments to ensure the safety of our people. This pandemic presents the opportunity to build back better in all sectors, but we must be cautious that we don't move too fast, that we don't move too quickly, and we also don't reopen the economies too prematurely. As of May 7th, there were 164 confirmed on First Nations reserves and another 17 in the territories. And while the virus has been slower to reach First Nations, the number of cases is rising daily. For reasons that I will get into in a minute, there is a reasonable concern that COVID-19 will have a disproportionately negative effect on First Nations, as did the H1N1 virus did in 2009. I fear that there are already far more cases among our people than we currently know. Unfortunately, largely due to gaps in coordination and information sharing with the federal government and the provinces and territories, First Nations do not have access to reliable sources of information that tracks infections amongst First Nations. And this is just one way that COVID-19 affects First Nations differently. So Canada must take clear action in response to these distinct needs. To inform this committee's study of the government's response from a First Nations perspective, the pandemic must be understood in the context of the socio-economic gap between First Nations citizens and other Canadians. It's a gap I always talk about in terms of quality of life. So a recent analysis by Indigenous Services Canada using 2016 census data and the United Nations Human Development Index as a measure reveals that Canada sits 12th in the world in terms of quality of life. But when you apply the same indices to our people, we measure 78. So it's 12 versus 78. And that's the gap that needs to be addressed. The intensified risk created by significantly higher rates of already compromised health among First Nations, and the unfortunate fact that so many First Nations still do not have adequate access to health care in their communities or even close to their communities. These factors must be addressed both on an emergency basis during this crisis, but more fundamentally during the recovery period. To understand First Nations' vulnerability to this virus, we need to look at not just at government delivery and funding of healthcare, but also other services that impact on community health. For example, due to overcrowded housing at 7 times the rate in the rest of Canada, this virus will spread more quickly. The lack of clean water in so many First Nations means that basic precautions like hand washing are more difficult to follow. There are 96 remote or fly-in First Nations across Canada. So a shortage of reliable transportation means that people will have additional problems accessing care. And there are serious food security issues in many First Nations, especially in the north. With the upcoming fire and flood seasons, it exacerbates an already difficult situation in these communities. We also need to acknowledge the specific challenges faced by First Nations governments in exercising their jurisdiction to respond to this crisis and plan for recovery. For example, there's poverty in our people. So we are the poorest in the country when compared to other Canadians. Our businesses do not have the same access to financing our supports, and our governments don't have the same human and financial resources to respond fully. The jurisdictions of First Nations governments are not recognized or supported adequately, leading to a lack of coordination and gaps in the delivery of services. And this is a good example to show more clearly why there's a need to make policing as an essential services. Right now, it's not an essential service in Canada, and that's something that should be recommended and implemented as soon as possible. Canada's response must take all these unique factors into account. The fundamental principles of effective government response to this crisis are: First Nations must be included in all discussions related to COVID-19. Jurisdictional conflict and confusion, resistance to First Nations exercising our inherent jurisdictions must not stand in the way of ensuring that First Nations citizens are protected. And First Nations must be supported to exercise their authority and jurisdiction in meeting the health needs of their community and in planning for recovery. Mr. Chair, 3 more pages. And I'm going to go quickly, but not so quickly so the interpreter loses it. So last Friday, Minister Miller detailed for this committee the $740 million that Canada has made available for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples to respond to this crisis. We appreciate that these funds are scalable and based on need, but we need to see this funding greatly expanded as the needs are many. Remember the 12 versus 78 gap. Even in the Indigenous Fund, it provides welcome help to 6,000 of our businesses, but there are actually 40,000 First Nations businesses across Canada. So the funding commitments will leave many without help. This committee should also be aware that many of our citizens and businesses may not be able to access broader programs set up in response to this crisis due to unique circumstances that apply on reserve. So Canada assures us that some of these details are still being worked out, but they're being considered without serious input from First Nations and are being announced without any prior notification. So 3 requests, Mr. Chair. Number 1, First Nations must have a seat at the table in designing any response that impacts us. So Canada must engage First Nations directly to properly address the circumstances we face and respect First Nations jurisdiction. So that includes any seat at any table addressing the current health crisis. Even in the future, when you start looking at reopening the economy, we have to be at those tables. This must also be the case with provincial governments. There are several situations where provincial governments' unilateral decisions have a direct negative impact on First Nations. In northern Saskatchewan, for example, in La Loche, there's over 100 in some cases that are just expanding quickly. And certain officials in there prevented citizens from traveling to grocery stores to get food. And we all know that's not proper and not right. In Northern Ontario, some municipalities are saying there's too much need through COVID-19 that we're not going to be able to accept First Nations people when they come out of the north for evacuations, like at Saskatchewan. So Thunder Bay has said that. So where do these people go? There's got to be options. Several provinces are refusing to respect lawful decisions by First Nations government restricting traffic flow and gatherings among other safety measures. So there's a lack of respect when First Nations say this is our jurisdiction and we're saying you can't come in or out. There's problems with people enforcing those laws as well. So a big historical issue is provinces have regarded First Nations as a federal responsibility, and provinces prioritize the needs of the citizens they recognize. But no First Nations person, wherever they reside, should go without supports needed to get through this crisis. These are unacceptable situations that put lives at risk, and they result from a refusal by provinces to respect First Nations jurisdiction. My second recommendation, Canada must bring the premiers together with First Nations leadership on an emergency basis to resolve these jurisdictional issues. Just as Jordan's principle made it clear that no First Nations child should go without service, provide the services up front and work out who's responsible later on. The same principle going forward. My third and final recommendation for this committee and for the study that's going to be ongoing is that Canada's commitment to First Nations self-determination must be matched by immediate and sustainable long-term support for First Nations governance capacity. You cannot adequately protect citizens when funding for First Nations governance is at 1/4 of what other governments spend. So those three recommendations, we can lay the foundation to avoid the challenges future crises might bring and support economic and social recovery from the current crisis. Just as the recession of 2009 disproportionately affected First Nations earnings, the socioeconomic gap between First Nations and other Canadians means that First Nations will suffer more due to this pandemic. And last few points now.
Chief, we're at time.
Just as a historic failure to recognize First Nations' inherent and treaty rights, title, and jurisdiction has resulted in an incomprehensible mess of competing authorities, the COVID-19 crisis shines a light on the real-life consequences to First Nation citizens. And just as any government requires the fiscal capacity to exercise its jurisdiction efficiently and effectively, this crisis makes it even clearer that the time to act on the chronic underfunding of First Nations governments is long overdue. These are the next steps needed. The last point is the throne speech.
Chief, we're at time now, and
Okay.
in respect to
Don't
our
forget the throne speech. And
thanks, Chief.
the UN Declaration. Oh, you're cutting in and out.
I'm sorry, Chief. We'll have opportunities during the rounds of questioning for you to expand on some of the issues.
Okay.
Well, we need to get to our presentations and then to our questioners. And so thank you for your presentation. And our next up is President Obed. Please go ahead, sir, for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to be presenting here today to the committee, and good to see so many familiar faces. As I've been introduced, I am Natan Obed, the president of Inuit Tapiriit Kanatami, and here to talk about the status of COVID-19 across Inuit Nunangat and for Inuit generally. Right now, our status sits in stark contrast to most of the rest of the country, which can be largely attributed to the public health responses that were implemented immediately, and of course the remoteness of our 51 communities. To date, there have only been 17 confirmed cases of COVID-19 detected within Inuit Nunangat, and that is across 4 jurisdictions and 51 communities. And of those 17 cases, all individuals have now recovered. So we've been successful so far in protecting our communities from COVID-19, despite substantial long-term gaps between Inuit and other Canadians on key health measures that have created unique and considerable vulnerability of both infection with SARS-CoV-2 and to development of severe COVID-19 cases. This success to date is a testament to the efficacy of the government structures that are in place across Inuit Nunangat, and also the relationships that we now have with the federal government, with provinces and territories, and also within the self-determination of Inuit leadership from Nunatsiavut, Nunavik, Nunavut, and the Inuvialuit region. It shows what can be achieved when Inuit self-determination and strong partnerships with governments work together for a common concern and common goal. Prior to COVID-19, we have generally experienced greater adverse socioeconomic conditions compared to non-Indigenous Canadians. This is seen in statistics like our average life expectancy, which is about 10.5 years less than all other Canadians. Also, our families live in more crowded homes and are less food secure. Our overcrowding rate is at about 52% as of 2020. Our access to healthcare is also highly constrained. Most of our health systems are conducted in our communities through health centers that are staffed by nurses. And then our regions are basically referral structures to Southern care for major health illnesses within hospital. We also suffer tuberculosis at a rate of 300 times the non-Indigenous Canadian rate. And our respiratory illnesses above and beyond tuberculosis are similar in many ways to COVID-19 and continue to plague our communities despite our ongoing efforts to see not only tuberculosis, but RSV and other respiratory illnesses eradicated in our communities. The current physical distancing measures, travel restrictions, and reduced services have seriously impacted Inuit incomes, communities, and businesses. The current air transportation circumstances are unsustainable, and the annual resupply, including the sea lift shipments during the 4 to 5 month ice-free season, are definitely going to be impacted, even though we have assurances from all parties involved as of today that the season is going ahead. But we know it is not going to be a normal season, and we rely very heavily on ports like Montreal and also on Churchill, Manitoba, to provide staging areas so that we can have all the non-perishable items in our communities resupplied in any given year. The ability of individuals and businesses to place orders has already been impacted, and warehouses in the south that would typically start to fill up by now are sitting nearly empty. This will have a direct impact on businesses and households in this and future years. I want to touch on 3 key priority areas. The first is in relation to increased public health measures to prevent the circulation of COVID-19 in our communities, specifically in relation to testing and adequate water and sewer. Improving access to testing and reducing delays in test results remain the key concerns across our regions, specifically when it comes to reopening our economy, to having trust in our transportation networks, and also in our response within our small, isolated communities. The CIFID Gene Expert Testing Platform is a US-based testing platform. We have used it historically to test for TB in a much quicker way than sending sputum samples south, but is now being used for testing COVID-19. There are a few of these machines that are in our communities, but we need more access to the testing cartridges and a wider access to the test machines themselves if there are continued to be setbacks with the Spartan Bioscience Cube. We are very thankful for the Government of Canada that they have put Inuit and northern and remote communities in the front of the queue when it comes to these point of care tests. Also in relation to adequate water and sewer services, one of the big public health measures is washing hands frequently. And in some of our communities, there is a lack of access to water and sewer services in real time. So infrastructure investments and a commitment to ongoing funding is needed to support water and sewer in the larger term. Second is in relation to maintaining capacity for the COVID-19 response. We're transitioning now into an extended public health measures and travel restrictions. We also know that to have effective and sustainable Inuit-centered social protection initiatives, we need to ensure individuals and families don't fall through the cracks. So additional investments to support community-led initiatives for reducing residential overcrowding and increasing access to and support for shelters and transitional housing, as outlined in our Inuit Nunangat housing strategy, are very important. Also, expanding access to mental health and addiction services, as outlined in our National Inuit Suicide Prevention Strategy, is very important at this time as well. We need to continue towards strong health systems. This includes strengthening human resourcing, laboratory services, infection control, and virtual care in response to COVID-19. Protective measures should also be taken by the federal government to identify and minimize impacts on Inuit from predicted shortages in essential medical supplies, personal protective equipment, and drugs and vaccines, including those required for TB and other preventable communicable diseases. All of our interventions must be evidence-based, globally informed, and Inuit-specific. We also want timely access to Inuit-specific data, and this will be critical for informing our responses by both the public government and also our Inuit organizations, and understanding the impact of COVID-19 disease and the pandemic on Inuit living both within and outside Inuit Nunangat. As of May 6, detailed case information was only available for 53% of reported COVID-19 cases in Canada. Data sharing across jurisdictions has long been a challenge, for Inuit. And if we value evidence-based decision-making, now is the time to have more specific data that we can then use for our population. So the federal government should require provincial and territorial compliance with detailed case reporting on COVID-19, including identifying whether or not an individual with COVID-19 is First Nations, Inuit, or Métis. And finally, financial assistance for immediate economic needs is a major consideration. We need an Inuit Nunangat approach across the federal government related to funding programs aimed at providing immediate and near-term COVID-19 related financial assistance. This means that there cannot be a lens that has been applied in the past for sometimes a Northern fund or sometimes an Atlantic Canada fund or a Quebec fund. Our regions get caught up in the messiness of the federal administration through different administration structures, but really we are a homogeneous population and require a very specific response. We've developed a strategic options paper that we have presented to the committee today. And in it, there's just some key points directing Inuit specific support for businesses, commitment from the federal government to support major Inuit development projects, an Inuit Nunangat supplement for Inuit eligible for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, and a supplement to support post-secondary students and other educational supports. There are a number of other things, especially in relation to the airline industry and the immediate concern that we have about the sustainability of these essential services. And I encourage you all to read that. A final consideration, any successful response to COVID-19 in relation to Inuit must be evidence-based, globally informed, and Inuit-specific, as I have said. Our reality is very different than the rest of Canada, and our best path through this pandemic is to ensure the Government of Canada's response to COVID-19 in Inuit communities is specifically developed with Inuit and for Inuit based on the best available knowledge and the inclusivity of all Inuit communities and regions, whether they're in territories or provinces. Nakamik.
Thank you, President Obed. And many of the language nuances are new for me, so I think I heard you correctly identify the organization as Inuit Taparit Kanatami. Is that right? Okay, thanks very much. Thank you. And so now from the Métis Council, David Chartrand is the Vice President and National Spokesperson. And Mr. Chartrand, you have 10 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and let me compliment you in pronouncing ITK, because I can't say it to my friend Natan so many different times that I tried. But mine, I want to start you off before I do my quickly into my presentation. I'm a leader that likes to speak right off the cuff. I don't really read speeches, but I have no choice. As a standing committee, I got to make a presentation. But I want you to visualize this when you're dealing with the Métis. What you hear from Perry, what you hear from Natan, is you hear the challenges they do face and what systems and structures they have in place. Last week you had the three ministers there, plus you had Finib, First Nation Inuit Hill Branch. And they said to you point blank, Métis are provincial jurisdiction. And you come to the province, I'm sorry, we're federal jurisdiction. That's what happens to us. So I really want you to picture this. And we have 400,000 Métis in Western Canada. In Manitoba alone, I have 80 villages and the rest urban centers where my people live half and half, 50% each way. And we don't have one clinic. We don't have one nursing station. We have zero, nothing. So imagine from that perspective what I'm challenged with and what we are challenged as a Métis Nation, we deal with the pandemic. Yet we pay over billions of taxes every year, nationally and provincially. We pay over $400 or $500 million in Manitoba. So just think about it for a second and picture our situation. So let me start off again, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here today. And I'm speaking to you from the homeland of the Métis Nation of Manitoba. The study on what the response we're doing with COVID is going to be a continued challenge for all of us. In our discussion on March 13, the Prime Minister assured me that there would be a distinct based funding for the Métis Nation. That's fundamental, very important. It has to be there, or we would be left in the dust and we'll be blackened out of the process. On March 25th, the federal government provided $30 million for the Métis Nation COVID-19 emergency response plan. The $30 million is enabling the Métis National Council's governing members or provincial affiliates to provide immediate supports to the Métis Nation citizens, families, and seniors. They have developed and are rolling out action plans, providing immediate support such as food, income, supplies, and rent supplements. Thousands of our elders across our homeland, Western Canada, have been contacted and are being assured of and being provided with assistance while staying in their home. In fact, in Manitoba, we did over 3,000 ampers already. I greatly appreciate Canada's rapid response to our help our citizens and families in a time of crisis. At the same time, the health emergency has exposed the particular vulnerability and disadvantages of the 400,000 strong Métis Nation population. It has highlighted the distressing fact that neither level of government has taken responsibility to address the deep-seated health conditions of the Métis people in Canada. At the federal level, we are excluded from resources for the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch. And this has continued during this pandemic, even after, if you remember, in 2015, the Daniels decision came down, where it made it very clear that the federal government has fiduciary responsibility for the Métis. But still, to this day, even during this pandemic, the Department of Federal Inuit Health Branch, the First Nation Health Branch, say, no, you're not our jurisdiction. Mr. Miller and Minister Bennett appeared before you last Friday and informed this committee of how much PPE was distributed to Indigenous communities and strategy. Of course, that's the health supplies. What is obvious they did not tell you is that none of this was distributed to the Métis community. In fact, in Manitoba, we've been forced to purchase our own directly from China. We have shipments coming in as we speak, but it's a very risky adventure when you're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars outside of your country and hoping it's going to come back with your product. We have no choice, as neither level of government has provided access to those important pandemic supplies. I want to thank this committee for recognizing the Métis community in northern Saskatchewan, such as Losh. I heard Perry Bellegarde reference Losh. And that's a Métis community with a large Métis population in there. And Dene, they say it's Dene, but it's a large Métis population. The neighboring band is Clear River Nation, Dene Nation Band. In fact, the national president, that's his son. That's the chief of that reserve. But what's interesting when Perry raised it, it's not my speech, but it's interesting how he raised it, is that you look at the Losh, right? And it came April 17th or April 15th, the first case. And if you look at the band has 12. The Métis community has 117 because there was no plan. So just how fast it is that one with a plan can maybe stop it, one without a plan, it takes off. And if you look at, let me go back to my presentation. I apologize for that, Mr. Chair. So now this pandemic is reaching hundreds of people, affecting those communities in Buffalo Narrows, High Lacrosse, and Bovell Spring. Those are all Métis villages I reference. And speaking to one of the leaders in the affected community, it is clear that there was no set plan by the province or the federal government, because both were blaming who's responsible to address the crisis that will occur in the Métis community because of jurisdictional debate. At the provincial level, despite our staggering chronic illnesses, the province tells us to deal with the federal government to deal our unique healthcare conditions and needs. Our pandemic plans have been limited to providing income and food supports. In British Columbia, for example, this has included supports for families with children in school to access online educational supports. In Manitoba, we created our own isolation units to ensure anyone needs a safe place to stay during pandemic can stay in these isolation units. Why we've done that? We have overcrowding, just like Inuit, just like we have with the First Nation. We have 10 people in a 2-bedroom. So how do you isolate with 10 people in a 2-bedroom? So we bought tiny homes, isolation units, and we created our own off the communities. Our pandemic plan has been limited by our lack of access to Métis healthcare services. Despite all health research that shows how important it is to have culturally competent and safe healthcare, Métis have been shut out of the provincial and federal healthcare systems. As I mentioned in Manitoba, we created over 100 isolation units, but have been unable to secure any healthcare workers. We've had no partner with healthcare provider virtually. We have actually had a healthcare, we had to search for and find healthcare provider virtually from Ontario. It shows even this pandemic how vulnerable we are in the healthcare field. We had proposed a new approach to the Métis healthcare budget in 2019, and again this year for budget 2020. An approach that would see federal investments in Métis healthcare that would assist Métis Nation in transforming the provincial healthcare system to allow us to establish Métis healthcare hubs in each province in Western Canada. Our healthcare proposal would also enable us to meet the non-insured healthcare needs of the most vulnerable people in our communities. It is our hope that these budget proposals will be supported, and we believe that the proposed new federal legislation, Indigenous healthcare legislation, will correct this inequity. In the meantime, we must be vigilant in ensuring that resources to cope with the COVID crisis are available to Métis governments as the situation evolves. There are all the more important given our lack of access to healthcare resources. I do want to touch on Canada's support for small business, because you did reference it last week with the three ministers, which is of particular importance to our people who have the highest rate of self-employment of all Indigenous people. We are grateful for the investments made by Government of Canada to support small and mid-sized businesses. Our Métis National Nation Capitals corporations, which makes loans to our entrepreneurs, have paused the loan payments at this time to support those clients during this period of business interruption. They are working with their clients to keep them afloat. So we're telling our businesses, don't pay us. You don't have to pay your loans right now. We'll keep you afloat for 3 months and not to pay, and we'll come back and visit. I think 6 months. I'm sorry, but their clients will need the additional bridge loans to make it through the shutdown. The Government of Canada is proposing to support our Métis Capital corporations to meet the needs of their clients, but we are proposing the amount of supports on the overall value of each capital corporation's loan, not the volume of loans that are out there. And the reason I say that to you, so you'll capture it, it's a little complicated because I have to get briefed over and over, is that the way they are approaching this matter is they're going by volume. So if you had $1 million loan, then you can actually have a higher ratio given to you, but your only cap is at 40,000. Yet on the smaller loans, we have hundreds and hundreds of them that exist out there. So we're saying you go by volume of loans to keep the small businesses alive, not by gross volume, because this way you're only supporting a few businesses. So we're debating that with Canada right now. Mr. Chairman, this does not work for us in Manitoba, as our capital corporations have hundreds of small loans supporting smaller Métis businesses. Our entrepreneurs are very anxious, which may force them to make decisions like selling equipment and abandoning leases they would not otherwise do if they knew there was a backstop financing available to get them through this rough period. Most also have difficulty accessing credit from conventional lenders, which is why we established the Métis Capital Corporation decades ago. However, the proposal by the Government of Canada to base its support to our capital corporation in Manitoba does not reflect the needs of our small Métis businesses in Manitoba, and urge the committee to support our request to change the supports to reflect the number of entrepreneurs who require support, not by a gross mechanism. I realize that the ministers, the members of this committee, indeed all of us who represent Canadians at this time are facing unprecedented demands, pressures, and anxieties. And I'm sure you're hearing it loud and clear from all three leaders. I urge this committee to support our request for greater inclusion in the healthcare system going forward, and for our support for our Métis small business sector. This pandemic has shown us what systemic discrimination can do and shows the weakness in our healthcare system. We look forward to working with you to transform the healthcare system and have this reflected in new Indigenous health legislation in the future. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to speak here today.
Can I have a point of order? No, I'm not sure if it's a real point of order, but there was something, Mr. Chautron, in your presentation, it wasn't clear. You said in La Loche there was 12 and 117. I think you're referring to number of cases of
yes,
COVID-19
number of cases.
in La Loche.
Yeah, when the first case came in into La Loche, it started off, I think it was April 15 or April 17, the first case. And when it took off, it took off. But the reserve next door, they're really connected. That's the same thing in Manitoba. Métis villages, just for those of you that do not know the Métis community in Western Canada, nearly every reserve, you'll find a Métis village next door to it. And so what happened there is that, of course, there's a pandemic plan, First Nation plan by FINIB with all the bands in Canada. And so there's strategy. They also have some medical supplies, all of the rest that comes with it. Thank you for that question, Marcus. Because what happened, here's in the reserve, even though they're connected to each other, they only have 12 on the band. But on the Métis side, they just went skyrocketing because there was no plan, no supports, no programs, no supply chain, nothing. But both governments are saying, no, it's not my jurisdiction, it's yours. So both are still blaming each other and still keep creeping into the next villages now because families are taking it to the next villages, not realizing they're carrying it. Oh, I lost the volume. I got no volume, Mr. Chair. I can't hear you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, I don't think you're unmuted. No,
I'm unmuted. There, I can hear you now. No, I lost you again.
I'm unmuted. I was
there you
muted.
Are. Okay. Oh, you're scaring me. I see your lips moving. I'm thinking, oh, what's he saying? Okay, sorry about it, Mr. Chair.
It's an old joke that I use to confuse technicians. I move my lips, but I keep the mic off. Anyway, used to drive them crazy in radio. All right. For 6 minutes now, Mr. Schmale, are you first up on the Conservative list?
Actually, it's Mr. Vidal, Mr. Chair.
Oh, Gary Vidal. So please, I didn't have the list in front of me. So Gary, you have 6 minutes. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also want to thank all of our witnesses for appearing today. Obviously, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us and sharing your wisdom with us. It is valued and appreciated. My first question is for National Chief Bellegarde. First of all, National Chief, thanks for the opportunity we had to meet last week and to get to know each other a little bit better and just share some of our common background in Saskatchewan. In that meeting, we talked about data and testing and some of that kind of stuff. And so in follow-up to that, I had the opportunity in the very first virtual parliament to ask Minister Miller about the reliability of the data that's being used for measuring results for Indigenous people and how the decisions are being made and how resources are being allocated subject to that. The answer that I was provided is that ISC only has data for on-reserve populations, and as we all know, I think more than half of Indigenous people live off the reserve. They're left relying on provinces and territories to report any of the tests and data that's being done by those organizations. In essence, what we have is some very inaccurate data that we're using to make decisions. And I guess the other difficulty or the other challenge that we're hearing about in northern Saskatchewan particularly is that there's a stigma associated with testing positive, and in some of the smaller northern communities, that's causing people to hesitate from being tested and to kind of avoid that process, and they're scared to come forward. So with all of that said, my question is, with all of the widespread testing that's now going on, in fact, in La Loche, I believe they're going door to door testing people now. But as we move forward, can you maybe just discuss how accurate data is important in structuring the response for Indigenous people?
Thanks, Gary. And yeah, you need good information and you need good data to make informed decisions. Like we always say, before you make any kind of decision, get as best information as you can. And right now, it's really difficult to track the numbers and the statistics. Yeah, on reserve, you can kind of track, but a lot of our people live off reserve. And so that's where the provincial health authorities, there's got to be a better way of tracking. And then you can do your wraparound. You can provide support to that individual and that family, and you can track it and self-isolate better. But you need to know who is the individual. And we get it about there's legal requirements, there's confidentiality and all those things, but you need good data and good information. And so that's why we talked about voluntary offering your status card or your status number, or declaring either your First Nations, your Métis, or your Inuit. That has to be looked at because that's a major thing. And I just wanted to say, I just got off the phone this morning with Rick Liberty. He's the guy that's in charge of that area, La Loche, and they're working together. They're on the phone right now as we speak. So the mayors from La Loche and Beauval and Great Lake are working with the chiefs, and they're looking at from a Treaty 10 pandemic area. They're trying to get coordinated between the Métis people and the First Nations people and the mayors, so they can control, because it's really expanded. And so I'm grateful and thankful that they're working together. But this whole piece about data is you got to have better information going forward.
Thank you for that, National Chief, and for your information. We normally are sitting on those calls with Rick and all those leaders at this time, and we will join them as soon as our committee's over and get in on those calls, and we're trying to stay on top of that as well. But I have one more question for you, and then I'll move on to some of our other witnesses. As I'm sure you're aware, there was a press release issued by the PA Grand Council yesterday on an inland fisheries in Northeast Saskatchewan issue. I had a fairly lengthy discussion this morning with Grand Chief Brian Hardlot, and the issue being that there's a freshwater fish supply and demand issue, not so much that they can't go out and fish, or just no demand for their product. As I understand it, the AFN has an inland fisheries committee in place to try to address some of these kind of challenges, but that typically focuses more on the coastal things than maybe the inland fisheries matters. My question to you would be, how can we work together with AFN as an MP for Northern Saskatchewan to help support these inland fishers in Northeast Saskatchewan that are going to go through a real struggle here, because their opportunity to have an income, once summer hits, is going to be gone, and they don't qualify for some of the other things that might be in place?
That's a good question, Gary. And that's I'm glad you talked to Grand Chief Hardlock, because they're right there in the PA Grand Council. And it has to do with the Freshwater Fish Marketing Board. It's in Winnipeg now. And there was a whole issue of processing, trucking, carrying by planes, all these things, and processing the fish. So when you start talking about fisheries, everybody automatically thinks of the East Coast or the West Coast. But there's a very strong inland fishery that needs support going forward. And the fisher, I won't call them fishermen because there's a lot of women that fish too. It needs support in terms of processing and accessing and even the marketing. So all has to be supported. And I think Fisheries and Oceans and the ministry can work with our AFN Chiefs Committee on Fisheries to start developing the strategy and plan to not only focus on the East Coast and the West Coast, but developing a very clear strategic plan for supporting and developing the inland fisheries across Canada. That's how I would see that. There's got to be a very specific program for that.
National Chief, do you think that the inland fishing people should have been included in the announcement that was made by the government this week to support the fishing industry?
Very, very quickly, Chief, we're past our time. Go ahead.
Always. More inclusion, the better. Again, we need to get our people around decision-making tables. So the answer is yes. We've got to get more involvement, more inclusion. Thank you.
Thanks very much. And now we go for another 6-minute questioning to Mr. Baptiste.
Okay, Gui, thank you very much. Give me the thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay. First off, I want to say, President Chartrand, your fish tank with the Métis symbol is in the background is the coolest thing I've seen on Zoom so far. That's amazing. It's great. But so my question to the National Chief and the presidents, as advocates for your various constitutionally recognized Indigenous nations, your role over the years has been to be an advocate in Ottawa for your people you represent. Now with that not in the picture, how I think it's with all of the programs that are coming out, there's generally not a lot a lot of times Indigenous communities don't think that these programs apply to them. And now more than ever, there may be an importance in terms of communicating to the people at the grassroots, to the leaders. My question is, first for all the leaders, on how are you communicating some of the programs that the government is putting out to making sure that they know that what they're eligible for and what they are doing. And secondly, I wanted to give the National Chief a chance to finish his thoughts around the socioeconomic gap. He had mentioned he was going into throne speech. It's important for us to look at COVID now, but also as our Deputy Prime Minister has said, we need to skate where the puck is going, not where it is. So I'd also like him to comment on the economic recovery, what we're doing, and how it's associated with what you've heard from the throne speech. So,
okay, thank you for the question, and I'll go to the throne speech first, and I'll say it this way: that this is the first time ever in the history of Canada that there is a whole chapter dedicated to Indigenous people's issues. And in that throne speech, you'll look at, there was strong reference to implementation of the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. That was number one, because if that's implemented, that will create economic stability and economic certainty right across every province and territory. Then there was talk about a treaty commissioner, because we have 634 reserves across Canada, First Nations, over 60 different nations or tribes, over 1 million people. But we have a treaty relationship by sharing the land. And this is a lot of land First Nations people are sharing with 37 million people called Canadians now. So we're sharing land and resources. So the treaty commissioner to implement according to the spirit and intent was the key piece. Then C91 on languages, C92 on child welfare. Then we had implementation of the MMIW, missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And then the youth suicide. There's mental health talked about in the throne speech. We're 7 times the national average youth suicide. And then as well, the infrastructure gap to be closed by 2030. So investments in housing, water, infrastructure, all those things, huge things. So if the throne speech can be implemented, that'll be huge. And in terms of what this government is doing, how we communicate to the 634 bands through our newsletters, our updates, through our websites and communiques. So that's what we're doing from the Assembly of First Nations side. We have constant chiefs committees. We also have a chiefs committee and a COVID task force in place to deal with this. So we have the systems in place, no question, but there's lots of work to do post COVID-19 to kickstart the economy. But people on this call should know that First Nations have contributed lots through our treaty relationship with the Crown, and that's a lot of land across Canada and a lot of resource bases that have been shared to develop the overall GDP of economic growth here in Canada. So that's my comment. Thank you, Jaime.
Well, thank you. If I can, Mr. Chair, add on to Jamie question, James. And I think it's Ken Dryden in your corner. I'm not sure that who's behind you on the wall there. But let me start off by this. I was quite surprised, firstly, at Gary's question, because I think unfortunately, it's a wrong approach on the question. Because first of all, I want to commend him personally, because he's the only one that raised the Métis issue, the Métis Nation, on after the facts, what was happening in La Loche and all the Métis villages. And he's the only one that raised the Métis, because everybody used the word Indigenous. And for all people on this committee, please do not use that word, because you confuse it all. Because really, when you do testing, he's talking about, there is no testing in Métis villages. It's only happening now after the fact. But there was no plan, no strategy to do any testing in our villages. And there's no systemic plan in any fashion. In Manitoba, we're having a big fight right now in Manitoba because the province is doing First Nation data collection. They say they're doing Métis collection, but there's no dialogue with the Métis government whatsoever. So when the people use Indigenous, you confuse it to look like all of us are getting it. We're not. So, but on your question, Jamie, we have a very robust communication strategy in Manitoba. We have our own radio show. We have 50,000 listeners on there. We have our website. We have, I think, over 100,000 people coming to our website. We have 25,000 at least emails that are going out steady to our citizens, advising them on potentially every second day what's going on in the government. Our robust communication strategy is very strong. We have about 125,000 Métis in Manitoba. But on the context of where things are moving forward, I think, Jamie, the challenge we do face is that Canada, as these programs coming out, and they are good. Trust me, they're very good. And one of the things I commend the Prime Minister on, and I'll hold him a task if necessary, but I do commend him on, is that the Métis Nation, and you heard Nathan say the same thing, distinction-based. That's the only way you can measure success and failures, because now you know who you're talking to, who you're dealing with. So I think those programs that are being announced by Canada are a great opportunity for all of us to tap into it. We need to figure out how do we actually get it out as quickly as we can. That's our challenge.
Thanks very much. That brings us to the next questioner now, which from the New Democratic Party is Ms. Gazan. Please go ahead for 6 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And my question is directed towards Chief Bellegarde and also President Chartrand. In a CBC article that was published on May the 7th about the COVID crisis in La Loche, National Chief Bellegarde noted that First Nations are more vulnerable because of overcrowded living conditions and lack of hospital access. Dr. Tam also shared these concerns, stating, in quotes, "People are taking it extremely seriously because these are more vulnerable situations." La Loche has a population of approximately 2,400 people and currently has 111 reported cases of COVID-19. We heard yesterday that in La Loche, Saskatchewan, there now remains only one grocery store to serve a regional population of 6,000 after an employee tested positive for COVID-19 in one of the two regional grocery stores. I spoke with a community member in La Loche today, and she indicated the growing concern in the community.
I'm being asked if you could move your microphone slightly away.
Just lower it down below your lip, toward your chin. That right about there.
Is that better?
That's a lot better.
Is that better? My apologies, everybody here. So I was saying I spoke to a community member in La Loche today, and she indicated the growing concern in the community. Regarding shortages of fresh fruit, cleaning supplies, and other essential supplies.
Leah, you're still crackling a bit.
Food prices. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Leah. You're still crackling a bit. Just bring it down. Just bring your mic set, not your headset.
Is that better?
Just move the microphone down away. Just grab it and lower it.
Okay, it's lowered. I can't lower it anymore. Here, wait.
Okay.
How's that? Is that better?
It sounds better, yeah, because there's a lot of.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm so sorry about this. Yeah.
It sounds better now. So go ahead.
Okay. And just going back in terms of supplies, that finding affordable food prices now already much higher in normal times for senior single mothers and low-income people is also becoming more of a challenge. With 70% of the COVID-19 cases in the far north region, the mayor of La Loche has described the situation as dire. And I've heard from my conversation that when people actually test positive for COVID-19 in the region, there is very little follow-up, and oftentimes instructions for self-isolation are only in English. So my question for President Chartrand and National Chief Bellegarde is, I'm interested in hearing from both of them their perspectives on critical steps the government needs to take immediately to stop the spread of COVID-19 in this territory.
Well, if I don't see Perry on the scene, so I'll jump ahead of him. So there you go, Perry. Got to get ahead of you, man. But anyways, let me say it this way, and thank you, Leah, for that question. It truly is an important prospect, and I think this is what shows again when I talk about the lack of proper planning. And when you look at the northern part of Saskatchewan, by speaking to Leonard, which is the local leader for the Métis Nation there, he himself already attributed putting $300,000 of investments into that area to support as you said, the fact of food and supplies, keeping people in their houses, trying to prevent them from walking out of their houses and going to events and potentially passing even further. So there's a lot of attempts by already the team. You heard even Perry say there's the mayors are meeting along with the local leaders, and the mayor actually happens to be the local president of the Métis also in La Loche. So when you look at it from the concept there, the strategy we all need to take now in the province and the federal government, set aside jurisdictions for a second, and we need to focus on it's like a war. This is a war. We need to bring in your team and bring it in quick and bring it fast, because you start seeing Beauvais, it used to be one, now there's 8. Slowly it's grifting himself into these other Métis villages and the First Nation villages, reserves further in the north. So when it moves there, and it's going to be very hard to contain, hold it back. So we need to act now. We can, no bars right now, as I would say. Do not hold anything back. Whatever it costs, whatever we have to do, let's stop it before, because it'll cost you 20 times the amount in the future, or it'll cost a lot of debts before the action is taken. So I think the strategy we need right now is somebody needs to move in with a very full comprehensive plan, not a Band-Aid approach, not just, okay, let's look at it this way or that way. We need to take a full pandemic approach and get in there now and do everything we power. Pull it back, stop it. If you have to put the legislation or actually decisions of holding people back, we do know there's alcohol problems. We do know there's drug problems in the community. That we all know. We've got to figure out how to then we capture that group of people and help them and isolate them. So
Thank
those
you
are
very
all
much.
looking that way in the concept. You look at it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I just want to give National Chief Bellegarde a chance to answer, and then I'd like to follow up with another question.
Leah, what to support our relatives in the north there? They
just 1 minute
support,
to this.
I just got off
Go
the
ahead.
phone with Rick Liberty, and they're working on a Treaty 10 pandemic plan. So they're starting to develop a plan. So the Métis people are working with the First Nations people. They're working with the mayors, the chiefs. They're working together from a geographic area perspective, and they're calling it the Treaty 10 pandemic plan. That should be supported by the province and the federal government. Support that plan. They've got things like trailers coming in. They need more PPE. They've got ways to deal with the security, ways to deal with the food security. So support that plan, because it's coming from the people that are directly affected. The Métis people and the First Nations people, they're working together. So that's what I would urge governments to support, the plan that's coming from the people themselves.
Thank
Leah,
you very much.
That's your time. That's your time there.
That was my time. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you very much.
And Madam Bérubé, I apologize. I changed the order by mistake. I've got too much paper around me and distractions. So, pour 6 minutes.
Your 6 minutes, Madame Bérubé, start now. You have the floor. Yes, great, Mr. Chairman. I thank you, and I want to salute all of these witnesses that we have here today. Now, my first question is for Mr. Bellegarde. Chief Bellegarde, you know that several communities in Quebec have to deal with all sorts of administrative issues to get the funds to help their members. I'm thinking of the Mi'kmaq community in Quebec, which would need $250,000, but that is not eligible or is only eligible for $50,000. I'm told that the Manassite and Vigé are in the same situation. So my question, in your opinion, how can the government simplify things for First Nations so that there is a quicker access to the funds that they require?
And the simplest way is to work that the Regional Director General from ISK work directly with the chiefs and councils to find the quickest, the most effective and efficient way to get the resources out. It's one thing to have them, but it's another thing to find the quickest way out and to cut a lot of the bureaucratic red tape. That's what has to happen in order to get this out into the communities where the resources are needed.
The question was.
For Gaspé, how that First Nation, how would the support go?
I couldn't. Sorry, could you? How should the support First Nation? Was that the question?
Oui.
I just want to clarify. Yes.
Oui.
Again, for the Gaspé, again, working with the RDG, and even the minister said if there's problems with the Regional Director General of accessing and or getting the answers you need, that you can go directly either to his office or the ADM. And Dr. Valerie Gideon is doing a good job of being accessible and providing the necessary supports going forward. So if there are issues, concerns in the region, then we always look to go to headquarters, to HQ, and there's a team of officials there that should be accessible, and they should be able to deal with the situation that way.
Okay. All
right. Mr. Bellegarde, also the Assembly of First Nations has created a national COVID-19 group to face the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit more about the work that this committee is doing, especially for exchanges with the federal government?
Yes, that very good question. And as Assembly of First Nations, we have 10 regional chiefs as well. And I've assigned portfolios similar to ministers. And so we have Regional Chief Kevin Hart from Manitoba that's in charge of emergency management. That's one of the co-chairs. And Chief Kluani Adamak from the Yukon. Her portfolio is health. So between those two co-chairs, and we also have Regional Chief Marlene Potroff from Alberta, who's a nurse, former nurse, which she's now a leader, and as well Chief Roger Augustine from New Brunswick. And their main role is to share information, communicate, and listen and get as the needs are identified from each of the territories and regions, that they will respond in a more effective and efficient manner. And then as well, they're there to lobby and advocate on the needs that have been identified in terms of putting more pressure on the federal governments and our provincial or territorial governments based on what they're hearing from the ground up. They're also calling in different experts from across Canada to share information and the best practices so that we can also share that and communicate that out to our First Nations. So that's some of the main role or function of the COVID task team that's in place. Thank you merci beaucoup for that question.
And also, are you satisfied with the supply in medical equipment for northern communities?
No. Another good question. We're never going to be satisfied with the supply of PPE or any of the things going into the north. We're saying everything's a good start, but more needs to be done. And we're going to have to push, because my job is to advocate and push to make sure that the governments honor their treaty obligations, their federal fiduciary trust obligations, but when they make commitments. So both the Prime Minister and the Minister, Mark Miller, have made commitments that these funds that have been announced are scalable, which means they can and should be expanded once the needs have been identified, and that the resources should be put in place. So again, we say it's a start, but they are scalable and the needs are great. And so the funds extra resources should be put in place to meet those healthcare needs that have been identified.
Merci.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Chartrand. We know that Indigenous people are having difficulties with self-isolation because of overpopulation and the housing conditions. Could you tell us what the situation is in your own communities?
Microphone, Mr. Chartrand. Open your mic.
I have to apologize to my cousins in Quebec. I'm not connected to the translation. Can somebody repeat in English what the question was, please?
Let me get back to that question. We'll forward it to you on a text or something. We'll move along to our next round of questioning.
Sure, I do apologize to Sylvia.
Okay.
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, you go ahead, please.
I think that might be one of the issues with some of our sound. Some speakers are very echoey for me. We had a little bit of burst of sound. I think maybe not everybody is on the channel that they're speaking in. I wonder if that might be the issue.
Thank you for that, Ms. Kakak. Our technicians can reflect on that for a moment. Madam Beyroub will get the information to Mr. Chartrand so that perhaps he can answer later. We'll move on. We'll keep our cycle of questions going and see how we can clean that up, because right now we have a round of 5 minutes each, and the speaker's order will be Mr. Schmale, Ms. Zan, Mr. Zimmer, and Ms. Demoff. So for 5 minutes now, Mr. Schmale.
Thank you very much, Chair. I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks to all of our witnesses for sharing their wisdom with us today, and I appreciate your time. I know everyone is busy. Chief Bellegarde, maybe I could start with you. During your opening statements, you talked about some concerns you have about the lack of consultation during the COVID-19 process. Were you given any explanation or an idea why you and your communities were not included in the decision-making process? I can't hear him, Chair.
He's unmuted.
I don't think he's unmuted, Chair.
Sorry.
That's okay. There we go. There we go.
Yeah, no, we never got any explanation why, but we're going to keep advocating for the need to be involved formally at a lot of those decision-making tables, whether they at the federal government level or at the provincial territory level. I'm constantly hearing it from chiefs that we feel left out, we're put to the side, we're forgotten. You know, governments are making decisions that affect our people and have a huge impact, but we're not at the decision-making tables, and that's not right. We constantly make the point that people have to understand that there's another jurisdiction of governance in this country. It's not just the federal government and provincial government. It's not just the 1867 British North America Act that outlined federal government responsibilities and our provincial government responsibilities. The First Nations governments are the original governments of this land, and that jurisdiction is being put to the side, being forgotten. And that's the sad part. If you involve our people, you're going to get better decisions, better outcomes. That's what we keep advocating for.
So even during a pandemic, there's no reason why this should actually be highlighted, why you should be engaging in that consultation.
Well, no question.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep advocating that. We have good access to the ministers, and but I keep urging my regional chiefs on my AFN executive as well that they should have a good rapport with the premiers, because through EPF financing in the 60s, the federal government offloaded to provincial governments treaty responsibilities. They offloaded education, healthcare, and social services to the provinces. And so now the federal government transfers billions of dollars to provincial governments. And again, how are the First Nations needs and rights being met and honored and implemented? So there's a need for full involvement, full inclusion, not only with COVID-19, but even going forward.
So Chief Bellegarde, I guess this kind of brings up to it just pops in my head that what we're seeing with the are you still there? My screen froze.
Yeah, still here.
Okay, my screen froze. I guess it was my screen, not your screen. Sorry. I guess that goes with the situation out with our friends in the Wet'suwet'en Nation, what they're dealing with. And the elected chiefs have said they are not consulted on the agreement between the federal government. should we? I guess this goes. I think we should have that openness, that transparency. I would think, whether it be with the Wet'suwet'en agreement, whether it be decisions made by healthcare, whether it be with funding. I'm just confused why, and you might not have all the answers, but why the elected chiefs were left out of this decision.
Well, another good question, but again, I have to be very careful not to get dragged into something that is very good.
Point of order.
But it's again
point of order.
I have a point of order. Go ahead, please.
Yes. I thought we were talking about COVID, and I don't want to put the national chief in a position where he has to comment about agreements on this, where this discussion is about COVID, and I'd appreciate if we stick to that and not put the national chief in situations where he's called to answer something he hasn't prepared to answer for on this call.
Ms. Kazan, were you going to comment?
Yes, again, I mean, we had a point of order at the last meeting around COVID. We agreed as a committee to keep our discussions related to the COVID pandemic, given that it's a life and death situation. And I think we decided to respect that. And once again, I'm asking Mr. Chair that we respect that. Thank you.
Mr. Schmiel.
Well, I would also challenge that even during the pandemic, the duty to consult is still there. And this is, I would argue, it is relevant, given that the government has a responsibility for transparency and consultation.
I'm going to ask you to restrict your questions and not put our Chief Bellegarde into the position that he doesn't want to be.
Honestly, that was not my intention to put him in a situation like that. But how about, Chief Bellegarde, how about I do this? During your words, your opening remarks, unless I heard wrong, did you say policing is not an essential service on First Nations communities?
Yeah, well, policing is not an essential service yet, but we're lobbying and advocating, and that's something that everybody on the call should be pushing for.
Why is that?
First Nations policing should be an essential service.
Why?
It's never been looked upon as essential service for the last number of years, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. They have a First Nations policing program, and it's cost share between the provinces and the federal government. And I have raised this, and it is being worked on. So hopefully, once we get out of COVID-19, that's something that has to be focused on as well. But it's a bigger issue than just policing as essential service. The overall justice system needs to be reviewed and start moving to a restorative justice system, not a punitive justice system. And that's just some of the work that has to happen. But this COVID-19, and it's a life and death situation, has sucked up a lot of the space. But we can't forget, like just think of what happened to Brady Francis. Think what happened to John Stiers and Colton Bushy. There's something that has to be fixed. But recognition of First Nations law and governance and jurisdiction, in addition to common law and civil law, that's something that we've got to get working towards in this country. If you want to start talking about reconciliation, that's where we have to go. And it's a bigger picture than just policing.
Thank you very much. That's our time on that round, our 5 minutes. And we go on now to Miss Zan for 5 minutes. Lenore, your mic. You're on mute.
There, sorry.
There you go.
It took me a little while to hit the button.
There you are. Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you so much, Walalan, to all of the gentlemen who have presented. Very, very interesting and really important stuff that we're talking about today. I have to say that it's wonderful to see Nunavut COVID-free, and to see your community there celebrating on television for that incredible milestone. Wonderful and so uplifting, and it would be nice if we could all learn from what they've done. Here in Nova Scotia, we do have a number of cases. So far, we're pretty good in Millbrook First Nation, which is within my community. And but I'm always concerned because during the last epidemic that we had, which was the H1N1, I was actually in government at the time here in Nova Scotia, And we were telling folks that in order to be inoculated, there was an inoculation that it was pregnant women and First Nations people needed to be inoculated first because they were the most easy to get that particular virus. And I was shocked at the racism that brought up, where people were complaining that our First Nations people would be able to get in line to be inoculated first. And I'm aware of racism, of course, but that really blew me away, and I was so disgusted. So I think that, as Chief Bellegarde mentioned, there are so many things that we need to look at on a larger scale, and the COVID-19 just brings out certain things and puts a spotlight on certain things that are already happening. One of the things I'm interested in asking you about is the personal protective equipment. So on May the 1st, the Minister of Indigenous Services told the committee that $59.8 million had been used so far to purchase personal protective equipment and to support emergency preparedness for the communities, and noted that the funding is in addition to the $80 million for health emergency preparedness announced in the budget 2019. But prior to the pandemic, did the department consult Indigenous communities and organizations about the types of and quantities of protective equipment and essential supplies that might be needed in the stockpile that the department has? And also, I'm just curious again, how, on average, how long does it take for remote and isolated communities to receive the orders that they need of personal protective equipment from the department? I'm not sure, maybe which one of you would like to respond?
Let me start. I'll jump in. Nobody's asking us questions. So, but from our perspective, let me put it this way: from here to eternity, probably, because we never got nothing. We didn't get one mask. We didn't get one hand sanitizer. Nor did we get anything in our communities, in the Métis communities. And as I said, there's 400,000 of us in Western Canada, and we play a very important role in the economy of this country, or we pay billions in taxes as a people. So I'm not even being treated as a Canadian because of this jurisdictional limbo, who's responsible for us. So when these stockpiles are taking place in Canada, I'm sad to say as a leader that it's not inclusive of us, and we have nothing. We don't get one mask. We don't get one Band-Aid, let's put it that way. And I'm not making this up. This is real. This is sincere. And as I said last week, you heard from the committee when the representative of First Nation, Finib, when she said that Métis are not our jurisdiction. That's provincial jurisdiction. And when you go to provinces, they say, nope, you got to go back to Canada. So we're in a dark zone, and we're not even treated as Canadians. So we get zero. And thank you for that question, Lenora.
Thank you. And maybe Mr. Bellegarde, Chief Bellegarde.
Oh, thank you, Lenore, for that. And Gain, and it varies across Canada. Like I said, there's 634 First Nations. And in your territory, there's 13 in Nova Scotia, and they're all Mi'kmaq.
Yeah.
You also have 2 in PEI and 2 in Newfoundland, and it varies in terms of getting out supplies to the First Nations community. I also mentioned earlier on that we have 96 fly-in communities in the north, so that's a different situation and more challenges in the north. But even on the ground, so Indigenous Services Canada, they do have a responsibility through treaty, through Section 35, to provide this. In exchange for all the land we're sharing, certain rights and responsibilities and obligations were to be provided to First Nations people. And it's slow coming out. And the PPE, there's a need for more, for it to be accessible. There's no question. And again, keep pushing for our full involvement in the inclusion in policy, design, and legislation and programs going forward.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks, Ms. Zand. That's our time. 5 minutes now to Mr. Zimmer. Bob?
Can everybody hear me good?
Yeah.
Perfect. I just want to say I'm honored again, once again, to see you, Chief Bellegarde, Mr. Obed as well. We met in Ottawa a few months ago now. It's been a while, but it's going to be great to see you once again in the future. And Mr. Chartrand, I don't know if we've ever met, but it's an honor today. wanted to, first of all, I guess, just speak to the previous point of order. I think it looks like there's an apparent cover-up going on here with the Wet'suwet'en topic. Certainly, I'm getting letters about the Wet'suwet'en situation, the MOU, but alas, it's
Bob,
sad to see that community
we've dealt with that.
somehow not recognized today. Well, frankly, sir, frankly, Chair, it hasn't been. So that's why I keep getting letters about the situation. But we'll move on. I just, for those who don't know, I am the Shadow Minister for Northern Affairs and Northern Economic Development, and that's kind of the framework that I want to ask my questions. And I guess we're concerned about, I've heard, met with many of the mining chambers previous with regard to COVID, and just, some of the programs don't seem to fit for them because just the way they have their infrastructure set up in terms of their funding models and that. So I'm just curious to see, just from your perspective, Chief, we'll start with Chief Bellegarde. How do we get our economy going, I guess, is the basic question I'm asking. And testing you've mentioned has been somewhat sporadic, and we've heard that from Mr. Chartrand and Mr. Obed as well. And we see this as the way that really needs to happen. We need to have more testing in order for us to sort of get back to normal, if you want to say it that way. What has the testing been like in your community? We'll start with Chief Bellegarde, and then maybe go to Mr. Chartrand and then Mr. Obed.
Again, Bob, just regarding getting the economies going again, and there's no question that's on everybody's mind across Canada. It's got to be done in phases, and it's got to be done cautiously. Personally, I think we don't have enough data in certain provinces. I've said it, they're moving a little fast, too quick, because a second wave of COVID-19 may come back. Once we're clear that the bell is flattened, there's got to be task teams and task force in every sector. If you're talking about agriculture, there's got to be a task team in place. Talking about forestry, there's got to be a task team in place. Talking about manufacturing, task team in place. I sat on the United States USMCA, working with Minister Freeland on that, and that's implemented July 1. So even dealing with Canada, USA in terms of the economy is going to be another thing. We have a specific strategy in implementing that going forward. My whole point to this would be that you have to involve our people around these tables, sector by sector of the economy. There is only one economy. It's just a matter of where you fit into that economy. And I really think there is an opportunity to build back better. And the old ways of doing business is out the door. And there's got to be new ways, and start looking at major programs in clean energy, the clean sector, whether it be wind, solar, hydro. Like, we have to look at investing there. It's like putting more dollars into those resources going forward, because we have to deal with Paris, the Paris Climate Accord, and we also have to deal with the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals from the UN. So there's a lot of work to do going forward in terms of kickstarting the economy, no question. The testing, never enough. You have to have more testing, the better. It's got to be quicker and faster. So those are my comments on that. And thanks for the question, Bob.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Chartrand.
Much, Bob, for that. Let me say this from our perspective. Testing clearly is you're absolutely right, is one of the keys to solving this, or helping at least curb it in some form or fashion. There's definitely not enough testing taking place across this country. And when you look at it from the Métis side, and I use my MMF, I'm the president here for 22 years. You look at Manitoba, for example, there's over 125,000 of us here, and there is no testing, I'm sorry to say, Bob, in our communities. There's no plan, there's no I don't know why. What are they waiting for it to take off and then try to rush in after a fact? And that's so damaging. That's after the fact. So prevention is a key. On the economy side, we definitely have our own economic strategy. We are going to be hiring hundreds of people across this province shortly. And but every strategy will have a COVID built-in concept established, whether it's in the housing construction, whether it's in the summer student jobs, whether it's for our youth. So we're going to hire thousands of people without question. Like, even the students alone, we usually hire about 500 to 600 toward the summer. We're still planning to do that. we're going to build hundreds of houses in this province. So we definitely know we need to have a COVID plan. We're doing a bunch of housing repairs, 1.5 million, about 100 houses will be applying for that, private homes. So you'll get about 2-3 workers per every house. And so you start adding that up. Now you're talking about 300 workers there. So we're having a plan, and we're moving. The missing link is a cooperative attachment of how we both do it. How do we both do it as Indigenous governments, and how do we do it with provincial and federal governments? How do we work together on it? But if they're not working, let me tell you, I'm going ahead anyway. Because my people need jobs, my people need the security, but they need to be safe. And so we are building our own strategy in our own government and moving forward. But we're taking the message strong and clear.
We're way over 5 minutes, Chair.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Chair, if I can, this is important. If I can, just for 1 second. We're taking advice from all of the medical experts right now in Canada and the province. We're listening to the doctors and try to follow that direction.
Order.
Okay, just to the witnesses, there are issues that you want to bring up that can come up later on in further questions, but we'll lose track of our meeting rounds if we continually go over. So we're at Ms. Demoff now. Pam, you have 5 minutes, and please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to start by thanking all 3 witnesses for your testimony. It was it's wonderful hearing from all of you. President Obed, I'm going to start with you. You've been very quiet here. I'm just wondering, as the South looks at opening up its economy, and we're seeing that more and more and more, I'm just wondering your thoughts on the impact that this is going to have on the communities that you represent in the North.
Thank you for the question. I think we're in an unprecedented scenario, of course, but you look at the scenario right now for one of our 4 regions, Nunavut. If individuals choose to fly to the South, if they come back, they have to pay 2 weeks of isolation in a hotel before then they can come back to a community. And so we do have no active cases at the time being, but the prospect of opening up our 51 isolated communities for business in any sort of way is still something that I think is very worrisome to many Inuit and many Inuit communities, largely because we still don't have point of access testing. We still don't have secure treatment that can happen right now, and we have all the socioeconomic conditions that I listed in the beginning of this call or of this meeting. So there are very Inuit-specific considerations for northern isolated remote communities in reopening our economies and reopening our communities that will require specific time and investment from the federal government to ensure that we aren't left behind or that we just aren't considered and that COVID-19 could somehow make its way into our communities based on the lack of consideration.
Are you being included in the conversations with the provinces on the reopenings?
Our ITK at the national level is working very closely with the government, but our board of directors, our land claims rights holding presidents, are working with their respective jurisdictions, and some have better relationships than others. But for the most part, we feel in this time there is a sense of constructiveness and a sense of wanting to work together beyond the historical challenges that we as Inuit have had with specific jurisdictions.
Okay. This question, I'm going to start with you again, but it applies, I think, to all 3, but I'll start with you, and then maybe we can go to Grand Chief Bellegarde. Connectivity has become something that has really come to the forefront, I think, for all Canadians, but in particular for people in the North, although it's not exclusive to that, because I've got a friend who lives at Six Nations, which is in the South, and it's very urban and can't connect to the internet. Can you maybe just briefly talk about how important connectivity is, both the internet, access to the internet, but also the equipment that young people need to access to go to school, for example, or businesses do to be able to do their work online?
Yeah. Just about all of Inuit Nunagat is still dependent upon satellite technology for internet access. We don't have the connectivity that Southern Canada has. We are always and always have been a generation or two behind Southern Canada when it comes to connectivity, and that's had massive impacts on our business, on our education, on our healthcare systems, and then basically just on individual the ability to interact with other Canadians. In this particular moment, there's been a focus on children and having online learning access for schools. One, we need things like iPads, so connectivity devices, because we have such poverty and such challenges just in having a quality of life and standard of living. But two, then the connectivity within our communities. Also, the same goes for our healthcare systems and trying to work remotely and trying to ensure that the suite of healthcare can still be delivered, even if we're trying to ensure that there is as little travel as possible. So connectivity is essential for the functioning of Inuit Nunagat, and it has been a long-standing concern of ours.
Thank you very much.
I'm out of time.
We're out of time, yeah. And we'll go now to a 2.5-minute round. And my first speaker is Ms. Michaud of the Bloc Québécois. 2.5 minutes, Ms. Michaud.
Bonjour. Est-ce qu'on...
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you hear me well? Hello, and thank you to our witnesses. First of all, I'm going to be quite concise. There's more than $1 billion that's been announced since the beginning of the crisis. Minister Miller said there might even be more, depending on how the crisis goes forward. But you didn't seem to be consulted before these announcements were made. Was there a list of your needs that was drafted, and were there figures, costs that were attached to it before this announcement was made? Thank you, Ms. Michaud.
Thank you for the question. And the answer quickly is no, there was no list. There was no formal involvement. The positive thing, though, is that Minister Miller will say that these are scalable. And so now that the 634 chiefs have had a chance to see how this affects them, they know their needs. I'm going to stress again to the government and to the proper ministers that once the needs have been identified, that they be met. And so the words that the Prime Minister and the ministers use, they're scalable. These amounts are scalable. And it's clear already that the funding resources, financial resources that have been identified and have been talked about don't meet the needs. And so there's got to be more just to make sure that those healthcare needs that have been identified are met going forward. Merci beaucoup pour la question.
Sorry about that, Michaud. If I can add to that, there was a dialogue that took place with the Prime Minister, and we did have.
Dave, you're on. Yeah, there you go.
Am I on mute again?
Yeah.
Am I still on mute?
Use your. Yeah, you were.
Am I on mute? No, I'm not now. Okay. No. Thank you very much again, Christina, for that question. We did have a discussion with the Prime Minister, the three of us, the three leaders, and we did have a dialogue in retrospect to what Canada was going to attempt to do and how about going towards distributing resources. So that helped a lot and gave us the direction. And for us, it set the framework. Yes, everybody can say it's never enough, but from my perspective, one of the key issues was to set the foundation that the flexibility was there on that money. That was the key. If they would have been allowing it to move through red tape or bureaucracy, no disrespect to bureaucracy, if it went through that process, that money would never have got itself out the door. So I think as politicians, I encourage you as time comes to look at these systems, because if that money went through there, we never would have got it. But thank God the flexibility was there, and we quickly reacted in our provinces. Is it enough? We don't know. But right now we're doing a lot of actions at keeping people isolated and keeping people distant and keeping people at home.
And thank you. And Ms. Kakak, please. 2.5 minutes.
Matna Chair, my questions are for Mr. Obed, and just being cautious or conscious of our time, Natan, I'm going to ask that you try and stick to about a minute. So we saw Pond Inlet in Nunavut had the first false positive case. We also learned at the time that they were facing major infrastructure challenges and water accessibility challenges. In Inuit Nuangat, can you give us, the committee members, a better sense of delays in basic infrastructure across the 4 regions?
Yes, everything water and sewer to air transportation. We have certain airports in Inuit Nuangat that don't even have lights on their runways, and there are no flights that are able to fly in after dark. We have many communities where the water and sewer infrastructure is from the 1950s or 1960s when these communities were first founded. We still have massive challenges in ensuring that we have the proper water and sewer infrastructure to be able to allow for our citizens to follow the public health guidelines that are being really pushed upon us during COVID-19.
Matna, thank you, Natan. My next question is in regards to the airlines. I'm hoping that you can give us, once again, in about a minute, a better sense for committee members as well on the kinds of things that services, resources, products that individuals in Inuit Nuangat rely on through airline transportation.
Yes, ITK has been pushing for the term essential services to be used in relation to our airlines. And it's because we don't have roadways to our communities. We don't have railways. We only have sea lift resupply for a short window every single summer. Anything else that comes into our communities comes in through air. If these airlines are not sustainable and are not given the proper support in this time, we are going to lose essential critical infrastructure that we cannot replace immediately. And we don't want to have our small isolated communities completely detached from Southern Canada, because that's where we get our health services. That's where we get our non-perishable goods in our stores. So I don't think that it's been an issue that Canada has considered forcefully enough.
Natan.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to our next round of questioning. And I have on this list Mr. Viersen for 5 minutes, Mr. Pulowski, followed by an unnamed concern. I'm not sure who comes after again, and then
I think it's Gary Vidal.
Okay, I'll put Vidal on the list, and then Adam Van Couverden. So, Mr. Viersen, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. I much appreciate your time today. A lot's changed since we've seen you at committee before, and it's well known that Indigenous women and girls are by far the highest represented group among sex trafficking victims in Canada. And we know that despite the COVID-19 health measures, the victims of sex trafficking continue to be exploited and exposed to the virus across our country. These victims don't have access to CERB or the other supports that other Canadians have. Mr. Miller's mandate letter calls him to work with First Nations on the development and delivery of services. To your knowledge, has his department been doing anything to help secure Indigenous victims of sex trafficking? Have they been providing funding to any of the groups that work in this area that you know of during this pandemic? We'll start with Mr. Cartran, then Obed, and then Chief Bellegarde. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that question. In fact, the Métis government, what we did in Manitoba is we have a very close relationship. We actually have an RCMP posted right in our building because it's a long-term relationship we built with them to work in conjunction with our communities. Secondly, we actually put the MMF government itself, and I thank you for your interest in that field, in that area. We put a $10,000 reward to help for missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And that's a standing reward that we have now to assist the police system to better, hopefully, entice people to come as witnesses. So we know we need to look at the solutions. But if you were standing in my building right now, Arnold, you would be quite shocked. The city, the people, the homeless that are set up tents right around my building right here, you would think this is a third world country. it is quite sad to see so much homelessness right around this village and this community, and so many people still using drugs out there. We've seen them. I see them with my own eyes taking needles from our windows here, and we don't want to chase them away. Where do they go? And so it is a sad state. But you're right. That's where a lot of these predators take advantage, and situations occur where these people go missing. So I'm very encouraged by your ongoing interest in that field, but we're trying to do our best also to help out with the policing system. They can't solve it all by themselves. We've got to give our helping hand in some way to give them the tools they need to find these predators.
Thank you. Natan?
Yes, thanks for the question, Arnold. I haven't had any direct conversations with Minister Miller about this particular subject, although ITK is working along with Paututi, the Inuit Women of Canada, to meaningfully implement the National Calls for Justice from the National Inquiry, which will be coming up on a 1-year anniversary of the release of the Calls for Justice in June. And we think that this is an essential issue to bring forward in the National Action Plan, and also in continued conversations, not only with Minister Miller, but other relevant federal ministers.
Thank you. Chief Bellegarde?
Yeah, just very quickly as well. It's a big issue, and thanks for the question. And it relates back to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and the calls for justice to implement all the 232 calls for justice. That's where this will rest, and we have to focus on the implementation strategy for that. That's one big piece. And through our Assembly of First Nations Women's Council, they've got the lead and they're developing that plan for implementation. Another big piece is C92, the child welfare legislation. We have 40,000 First Nations children in provincial care across Canada. Well, that's not acceptable, because that just leads to child prostitution, that leads to gangs, that leads to group homes, that leads to further jails. Like, it's a cycle that has to be broken. So if you can start looking at the full implementation of C92 and respect First Nations jurisdiction and start focusing on prevention and keeping these children at home in their safe, loving, caring homes, in their families, their communities, their nations, that's the way to start. So MMIW, implement all the calls to action and start respecting C92 First Nations jurisdiction over child welfare going forward.
In my riding, many of the First Nations communities, all of them are Cree First Nations. They're all very tied to the oil patch. Many of them have construction companies, road building, road maintenance, that kind of thing. And given the fact that the oil price is where it's at, and then COVID on top of that, we're facing unprecedented layoffs.
We're at time right there. Just very quickly, go ahead. I'm sorry, Arnold. We ran out of time, and we're almost at the end of the meeting. So I'll ask Mr. Pawlowski now to have his 5-minute session. Please go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about a little bit about the plight of elderly people in each of your respective communities. This pandemic has really highlighted the plight of the elderly, the difficult circumstances so many elderly people find themselves in. Now, having worked as a doctor in Nain, Iqaluit, in Norway House, and Norway House does have the adjacent Métis community. So having worked in all of your communities, I would suggest that in all of these communities, you do a much better job at looking after the elderly than a lot of non-Indigenous communities do. Now, I know in Fort William First Nations, they've been trying to get funding for a chronic care home, but I'm wondering if you might comment on how the elderly are treated in your respective communities, and what this pandemic has suggested about the treatment of the elderly and the long-term prospects in terms of, do you want more chronic care homes in your communities, or I think maybe you look at how the elderly should be treated in a bit of a different fashion.
I think there is a huge need for elders care home on reserves. There's no question, and more needs to be done on that. I think of back home in Saskatchewan at Standing Buffalo First Nation, Chief Roberta Sukuwashite. They have an elders care home there, and it's been operating for a few years now. But they don't get as much support from the province or anything else. It comes from Indigenous services, and the rates aren't the same. And so you have to have a very specific program for elders care homes on the reserve. And more people are asking, demanding that. Once they leave the reserve, their communities, they go into town, into the elders care. There's racism, there's discrimination. They can't even get their foot in the door anyway. And so there's all of that. And if you keep them at home, they're surrounded by family, their loved ones. They have their traditional foods. They can speak in their language. They're more at peace. And I think there's a huge need that need has to be met. And our elders, we always say they're our jewels. We're not supposed to, we take care of them. They provide so much knowledge and wisdom and teachings to our families and communities. So there's got to be a very specific program, and it's got to be resourced with the proper financial and human resources going forward.
Maybe Ms. President Obed and Mr.
Sure, Obed, go ahead.
Sure. In our funds that were provided for Inuit-specific response, each of our 4 regions had specific considerations for elders within the use of those funds, whether they be vouchers for purchase of food at stores or the ability to access country food through community freezers. So immediately, one of the first concerns of each of our regions was how to provide, whether it be for food insecurity or for basic safety and protection of our elders. And it remains one of the great pillars of our society, the way in which we respect our elders and the knowledge that they have. The risk also is in relation to what National Chief said around long-term care facilities. There are some long-term care facilities in Inuit Nunagat, but many of our elders have to go to Southern care centers. So there are many Inuit elders in Ottawa in long-term care facilities. So there is a specific risk that some of our population has based on the lack of infrastructure within Inuit Nunagat. And this is just one example.
Mr. Chartrand, you have about a minute.
How long you got, Chair? Thank you very much, Marcus. Again, that's a very important question. But what's so beautiful about the Indigenous culture, in particular my culture I'll speak of course, the Métis Nation, is the elders always come first. That's the number one priority of our systems. And in fact, the first reaction we had as soon as COVID in December was actually being discussed throughout the media. We started talking within our own nation about what we're going to be doing if this thing ever comes to North America. So we started reacting very quickly. We're on a phone steadily catching the attention of every elder. Like in Manitoba alone, we had over 1,500 elders that we contacted immediately to know their state, to know their financial, their health. We own a pharmacy also here in Manitoba, so we made sure all their prescriptions were intact and in place. But we also made sure that hampers were delivered to them. We did not want them to leave this house because we know they're the first and most susceptible to actually probably lose their lives if they got affected. So our reaction was very quick in Manitoba, how we took on this case. And it's the same way amongst the Métis Nation. Our culture is fundamental. But as the previous speaker spoke, some of the key conditions we do face is we don't have Canada, for example, takes the position right now, you're not our jurisdiction. Even though we won Supreme Court in 2015, we will hold them account for that, trust me. But on the second phase, like we just finished building our first elder campus. We have 10 units built, brand new homes. And let me tell you what I'm proud of as a Métis government. We are going to charge the cheapest rent for everything intact, cheaper than the provincial government of Manitoba for our senior citizens to move in there. And they're all built to meet the quality needs of the aging population. I'll give you an example. The light switches are higher. The plugins are higher. If they have a wheelchair, they go underneath the stove. Their washrooms are all dimensionally designed for the wheelchair to move around there. Their bedrooms are accessible. Everything about the house is designed for them as they age in time. So we're building senior homes right across the province. I'm president, by the way, not a chief. But anyways,
I'm sorry. My apologies.
But we're building right across, Marcus, and I thank you for that question.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, but I do want to get everyone's opportunity to ask their questions. And Mr. Vidal, you're next for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we've talked much about in the last few days, and many of my colleagues have identified the situation in Northwest Saskatchewan today and how serious it is, I want to follow up on that a little bit. Yesterday, the news from La Loche, the statistics from there that the largest category of infected cases was in those under 19 years of age. So we have these youth that are the most affected in the Loche. It's an increase of 238% since the public declaration of the outbreak. We've had the leaders, Chief Teddy Clark, the mayor of La Loche, and many of the surrounding chiefs and community leaders, as National Chief Bellegarde talked about them working together have been tirelessly working to get the message out how important it is to follow the health guidelines for the people there. In fact, in the leader post today, the mayor of La Loche, and I'll quote, he says, "We keep repeating ourselves, but it's important that we stop transferring the virus to other people. Young people think they're invincible because they're not in too much danger, but the elderly and the vulnerable are. We are very concerned about them getting sick. Please help us stop the transfer of this virus." I think I would ask the question of President Chartrand and National Chief Bellegarde in this case, because they're familiar with the area. How can you as leaders support those people on the ground in getting that message out to the young people, to the people in those communities, how important it is to follow the advice of the public health officials?
Okay, thank you for that question again, Gary.
David, go ahead. David.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Perry. As I said, I do commend you, Gary. You're the first one that raised the Métis name in the whole issue in the media in northern Saskatchewan, because it was always Indigenous, and it was losing the concept there was a crisis happening in the Métis community. But when you look at the young population, I speak to Leonard, for example, who's elected official for the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan out there, lives in the community. And as I said, the mayor is actually the local president of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan local. But when you look at it overall, there's got to be a dual strategy, and that is a challenge. The young people feel they're invincible, and we're trying to educate our people. Even like, for example, in Manitoba, we have an education campaign going to our young people. We're trying to advise them that, okay, if you don't think it's going to bother you, you're not going to die, you're not going to affect you, but ask yourself the question: how are you going to carry yourself if it's your grandpa that dies, your grandma that dies, because you thought you were invincible? So we're trying to educate our people that it's not just about you; it's about a community, it's about a family. And so we're putting that campaign out strongly here in Manitoba, and I know Leonard and them are trying to do the same in La Loche. It's a challenging issue, but I think it's an achievable issue. I think we can definitely solve it, and I think it goes with the concept we were talking about earlier about setting aside jurisdictions, set aside differences. Right now, let's focus on people and figure out how do we get inside there and begin to work as a team. And as Perry said, they're already talking as a team. But how do we bring all the tools necessary to convince us young people, even though they're invincible in their minds, that they can cause so much harm to their own personal self? And I use it personal because if you say it's personal, then they might carry some weighted responsibility on that. But if you say it's somebody else, they might not care. But if it's their grandpa and grandma, they are going to care. So we're pushing that very hard right now, and we think that's the only way we can really educate the people. It's got to be a campaign, but it's got to be a dual and mutual campaign. Everybody work together. Set aside everybody's jurisdiction, whether you're a mayor, whether you're a chief, whether you're a local Métis leader. Set aside those issues right now. And the provincial and federal government, come on, get off your INEs about who is responsible. Let's get all together in there. Let's stop this thing before it takes off.
Okay, we're at time for that, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
Chairman, that was only 3.5 minutes.
I don't think so, Mr. Vidal. I had you on it.
3 minutes and 54 seconds right now.
I can answer in 30 seconds.
Go ahead.
Support the Treaty 10 pandemic plan that Rick Liberty and all the mayors and the chiefs are working on together. Support that. They have a total wraparound within the 6-month period to do a whole wraparound for the whole territory, including the Métis people, the First Nations people, all of them working together. That's what's got to be. They have an integrated incident command center that should be supported. Federal government, provincial governments work with them there. And the message to the young people, this all came from Kerr Lake, by the way. An individual that's working in Alberta came back into the community and brought this disease sickness with them, and they went partying and everything else, and it started spreading. That's what happened. And so the young people, 3 things: wash your hands, physically isolate, and the distancing and self-isolate. That's got to be the constant message to the young people. And if you don't love your parents and grandparents, this can affect them. Show that you love them and listen and watch and be careful.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Vidal, I'm sorry about that, because as each speaker goes over a little bit, or questioner, it changes all of the times that I've got written on my list. So what I'm going to ask now, we have a couple of minutes before our deadline, which is 4 o'clock, and I'll need the permission of the committee to extend, because I'd like the final questioner on this round to have his opportunity, and then the Bloc and NDP would finish the round following that, which would require 10 more minutes of our time. So could I ask the committee if we could allow the extra 10 minutes past 4 o'clock?
Chair, excuse me, Chair. I can only speak for the Conservative members. We do have a a meeting at 4 o'clock. I know you want to get the questions in. We can just to let you know, we do have all four of us have a meeting after this. But
point of order as well, Chair. Today, the time has not been great at all. There have been lots of people going well over their time, between 30 seconds and a full minute, which limits my opportunity, my colleague MP Gazan, our opportunities to get in more questions. And we know that we are doing this virtually. We know that we should be signing on half hour before, making sure our technology works in order to start on time and to prevent any further delays. So I think it's time that all of us as committee members decide that we're going to take that extra step to make sure that we're ready, we're prepared, and we understand that we're going to have these difficulties. I would never schedule something at 4 p.m. the same day I have committee because of these kinds of things, Chair. And I think this is all something that we need to discuss in the future if it continues to be an issue.
There's a difficulty with virtual in that we could make hand gestures in the committee room before that it's hard to do here. So I apologize for that. That's my fault as the chair. So once again, could we conclude the round with Mr. Van Couverden, the block, and Ms. Kakak? What's the feeling, the wishes of the committee? All in favor?
Well, Chair, I just wanted to say it's not our doing as the opposition. We'd love to hear the witnesses. We're having a great conversation. We do have a national caucus meeting, which is beyond just the four of us deciding when it's scheduled. There's a lot of moving pieces to this, so it's not that we need to leave. Like we're not making this up. We do have a national caucus meeting at 4 o'clock.
Absolutely. I'm not saying that you aren't telling the truth. I'm saying I'm sure there's ways we can be working around these issues.
Mr. Chair, since there will be no voting, is it not? I'd love to hear what the Indigenous parliamentarians from the NDP would like to ask, and I think that we should afford them that ability to have that conversation and ask those questions, even if the Conservatives have to leave for caucus, which I acknowledge and respect.
Comment from the Conservatives? Would that be okay in view of the fact we will not hold a vote on that at least the evidence will come forward to the analysts and to the rest of the members?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, my microphone wasn't working. I do apologize. We'd have to have a pretty solid agreement that there would be no vote. We'd have to be. Sorry. Hang on a second.
Okay.
There we go. Sorry. We'd have to have a pretty solid agreement that there would be no vote.
So I would ask the committee, would you agree to an extension to allow for the conclusion of this round, but not include any other committee business such as votes? Is everyone in favor of that? Hands, please. Put your hand up. I think Jamie said yes. Bob, are you okay with that? Arnold?
Not really.
Well, then the alternative is to end the meeting and not give the other people a chance to make their points or hear the witness or have the testimony collected by the witnesses.
Point of order as well, Mr. Chair. I think this needs to be a broader discussion. Thank you, Baptiste, so much for the opportunity, especially as very few Indigenous peoples on this committee. And I think it's more than fine as long as we're recording, this is live, this is public. You can see things afterwards. So I don't know what the disagreement is for the Conservatives or a Conservative member rather, Mr. Chair, but I think this needs to be a discussion that we set time for and we figure this out.
So once again, I'm going to ask my Conservative friends, would you allow the committee to continue on based on my suggestion that no other committee business, including votes, take place other than the receiving of witness testimony based on the questioning? Jamie?
Sorry, Chair, can you get two seconds here? Just 2 seconds. I'm just conferring with the members here. Hang on.
And again, with the time, this is where we can be asking questions, Mr. Chair. And
I know.
here we are waiting for something that is taking an unnecessary amount of time.
Okay, sorry, Chair. I've just conferred with my team. As long as there's no vote, we're okay with granting that extension while we excuse ourselves to attend National Caucus.
I really appreciate that, Jamie. So thank you very much. I have 5 minutes with Mr. Vancouverden, and then we'll conclude the third round with the Bloc and the New Democratic Party. Mr. Vancouverden, for 5 minutes, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, witnesses. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Be good.
Thank you.
Bye, gentlemen.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, big thank you, merci, miigwech, merci, nakamik, to our witnesses today. Your presence here is really, really invaluable. We have a limited opportunity to hear from leaders like you, and I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity. I have questions specifically for Natan on some. You continually reference Inuit-specific measures to be taken. I'd ask if you could just speak to that just a little bit quickly. I'm going to concede the rest of my time to the NDP to use as you see fit in light of the fact that it was quite limited today. I think we have fantastic Indigenous and representation on this committee, and I want to make sure that you are provided with the opportunity to ask a question. So, Mr. Obed, just some perspective on Inuit-specific measures, and then I'll concede the rest of my time to the NDP. Thank you.
In view of that, let me interject by saying, once you hand it over to Ms. Kakak, I will allow her to continue on with the extra 2.5 minutes that she's entitled to in the second, so that she can continue. And then the Bloc, Madam Berube, you would conclude the round of questioning, if that's okay. Ça va? Okay. Mr. Vancouverden.
So I'll just start answering. Thanks for the question, Adam. I think that the biggest point for members of Parliament is the continued lack of continuity between federal departments when it comes to implementing a distinctions-based Inuit Nunangat approach to any sort of Indigenous specific funding. So there are announcements almost every day. There are some amazing different programs that are going out there to specifically focus on COVID relief. There are some that work specifically through a rights-based, distinctions-based approach, and we work with a particular department. There are other departments where we can't, we start from scratch, and sometimes something has already been announced, and there are already administrative structures that have been put in place for Inuit-specific funds without any conversation with Inuit. So when I say Inuit-specific and moving forward, it would just be to harmonize and to ensure that no matter what dollar is being spent, no matter what department it's in, that the same approach be used by the federal government, federal structures. And that would ensure that no matter what happens, that the Inuit-specific response is as it reaches the most people, it is used in the least amount of money, and then it gets there in the quickest possible way.
Thank you, Nakamik. Over to you, Mumala. Ms. Kakak, sorry.
Mr. Vancouverden, I really appreciate the gestures. Very nice. So, Mr. Chair, I'll be taking up to about 5 minutes, and then the rest of my 2.5 minutes I'll be passing over to my colleague, MP Gazan, if that's okay. So I have about 1.5 minutes. I can't hear you, Mr. Chair. Sorry.
I'm sorry. He used part of his time. Let me give you 4 minutes now, and including the 2.5. Does that work? Or Closer to 5. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, going back to Mr. Obed, we've heard multiple different programs like the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit that individuals can apply for. One of the things that I've been hearing consistently, and I'm hoping you can speak to this, is that we've been seeing a lot of people fall through those cracks, and in particular, artists and artisans. I talk about carvers and jewelers, and I'm hoping that you can give this committee more insight as to what that looks like in Inuit Nuangat.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Mumilak. We still rely very heavily on community-based economic structures, especially for our artists who are selling their carvings or their fine arts locally, and often through cash dealings. And sometimes to tourists, sometimes to government workers, sometimes to then suppliers who then sell them in the South. But it is largely an informal and a cash economy. The same thing goes for performers. So people who are performing in throat singing or singing, there's a large portion of our population that wouldn't be able to quantify their loss of income in the same way that other Canadians might. And that creates a huge difference in the way in which Inuit, especially Inuit artists, can apply for a number of these programs, whether it be for businesses or for individuals who lost income. And that is a major concern of ours.
Matna Natan. And just one more quick thing before I pass it over to my colleague, Ms. Gazan. When we discussed things in the North, a lot of things aren't very simply put, I guess, so to speak. What are some of the suggestions that you would have around mental health services? Is something that lacks very much throughout the North and Inuit Nuangat. Are there some suggestions that you would have for committee members at the federal level in increasing those mental health services? What starting point, I guess, would you suggest?
Yeah, I think it would be to get as much money to the community-based health support programs as you possibly can. And institutions that keep our communities healthy and well often take a number of different federal programs and territorial or provincial programs to just keep the doors open. And those type of community-based organizations are the rock that our mental health of the communities depends upon. And so any federal supports for community-based programs, whether they be for mental health supports or just community well-being, would be amazing in this time.
And Natan, I'm going to pass it over to Ms. Gazan.
1 minute, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mumilak. Thank you so much for your graciousness, Adam, and your generosity. I just had a question about clean drinking water. The Minister of Crown Relations noted that Indigenous people would be disproportionately affected by COVID-19. We now have the disease that has been detected in British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Quebec First Nations, as well in region of Nunavut. In 2010, they were on a lessons learned report from the H1N1 pandemic. The government noted that limited access to running water has been a factor affecting the pandemic response in remote and isolated communities. Last week in committee, when I asked a question about what the government was doing in response to ensuring real action on providing ending water boil advisories, they said they would look into it. That was a concerning response, considering the government indicated they would end those advisories by 2021. So I want to ask one of the panelists, I don't have a lot of time. In your opinion, how has the failure of this government to end all water advisories, as they promised in 2015, contributed to and exacerbated the vulnerability and lack of preparedness on reserves?
I'm sorry, someone's going to have to
COVID.
get an answer on this. We're completely over time, so a very brief answer, please. Somebody, please.
Maybe Mr. or President.
Perhaps we can get a written answer to that, because this is just running way over time, and the block has been kind enough to wait. Madam Bérubé, you have 2.5 minutes, and I'm going to ask the witnesses to respond by a written response to Ms. Kazan, which will then be incorporated into our witness testimony. But the block now concludes with 2.5 minutes. Please go ahead, Ms. Bérubé.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here's my question for Nathan Obed. The Nunavik community spent part of the money that was transferred by the Inuit that live in urban areas, notably in Montreal. This money will not go to Nunavik without giving money to one and taking it from someone else. Doesn't that introduce that the $15 million from the government to help Indigenous people living off reserve are not enough? What do you think of this?
Yes, the Indigenous Community Support Fund monies that were received by Inuit not only are for Inuit Nunagat communities, but for wherever Inuit live. And so each of our 4 land claim regions have devised implementation programs and ways and supports for urban Inuit. There are other Indigenous urban Indigenous funds, but again, the rollout could be quicker, and there is a desperate need for more money for urban Indigenous peoples writ large beyond just the Inuit communities. There are large Inuit urban communities in places like Montreal and Ottawa, Winnipeg and Edmonton, and it has been a challenge, and we have heard a lot of urban Inuit who say that the money has not flowed fast enough. But there are different programs that we have been able to access so that there is some bridging of the need versus the response.
Any more? Anything further? Okay, I will end it there. That brings us to the end of our time, and I'm sorry about the timing issues, but we'll get better at it as we go along, I'm sure. And once again, thank you to our witnesses, Chief Perry Bellegarde, President Nathan Obed, and Vice President and National Spokesperson for the Métis National Council, David Chartrand. Our next meeting is Wednesday, May the 13th from 11 a.m. till 1 p.m. And at this point, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Bye-bye.